In this video, I'll discuss the 5 essential shapes that will make your sky stand out. And it's in my book, Ellen's Guide to Design Elements, where the Kindle is only $5. The sky near the horizon is usually the lightest part, and that's due to atmospheric perspective. If we have a light ray going like this, and then it runs into a whole bunch of air particles, instead of going straight, it gets scattered all around. So this one light ray gets concentrated in this area with all the air particles. And when we add up all these light rays together, we get a lighter value. And the horizon is the furthest away we can see, so it has the most air particles between us and the horizon than between us and anything else. So that's why the sky is light near the horizon. Now, all these deflected rays cause the other features of atmospheric perspective. So we see less detail and texture, softer edges. The color is bluer because it's usually blue skylight that's being deflected. And we see these other changes. Now, what is reverse atmospheric perspective? Well, it's reverse in the sense that in this first case, we're going from orange to blue. And in the second case, we're going from blue to orange. And that's because the predominant light color here is orange. So it spreads around and is most evident near the horizon. But it's still a scattering of light. So we see all these other changes with supposed reverse atmospheric perspective. So you're still going to see less detail and texture, softer edges, etc. Here are 2 applications of atmospheric perspective that you might not think of. So with sunbeams, when the light hits the air particles, we get the same changes as we do with atmospheric perspective, with reduced value contrast, reduced color saturation, reduced detail. And we compare it to the area with less light. In the second case, we have an area here that is lit by the sun, and then on both sides, the clouds are casting shadows in the foreground and the background. And when an area is in shadow, that means there's no light there, so there can't be any atmospheric perspective. And as a result, the color and values of the foreground are similar to those in the background. We can't have atmospheric perspective without light. Now, sometimes the horizon is darker than the sky, depending on the type of particles and how many there are. So that often happens with fog, mist, and smoke. Now, if you look at this picture here, you notice that there isn't much difference in the value near the horizon and the sky above. And that occurs in the low lighting situation. And even though there are shadows in this picture, to have convincing, strong light, you need a difference between these 2 values. The sky should have a shape. The simplest is a backdrop, which makes the sky appear flat. And we get that if we have a lot of horizontal lines or if there's little value change. Alternatively, the sky could look like a ceiling with dark clouds abruptly darkening the sky overhead. Alternatively, it could look like a half cylinder where the values gradate from light to dark, so there's no line between the 2. Now, alternatively, the sky can bend away so it is lighter toward the middle and darker on the edges. But even if we don't see these darker gradations, we can still add them. So here, our eye would follow this yellow band, perhaps right out of the picture, but if we darkened it a bit over here, it would help contain the eye. And then finally, the sky could look like a dome the closer it is to the zenith, which is the darkest part of the sky. And it's the darkest because there are fewer air particles when we look up than when we look toward the horizon. If we think of Earth as an orange, and the atmosphere as the peel of the orange, as we look up, we don't go through much atmosphere. but if we look toward the horizon this way, we go through much more. The sky is often a relatively saturated bright blue, and since color intensity makes an area project forward, you need to use other effects to keep the sky in the background, like these overlapping trees. And don't have clouds follow the hills in a realistic painting because they should look independent of one another. This is a dramatic, beautiful painting, but the sky is unrealistic. The clouds look as big as the mountains with similar shapes, and presumably that was the aim of the artist. But if he wanted it to look realistic, then he would need to make the clouds thinner with distance, especially near the horizon. This sun is white because it's late afternoon, but the painting places the sun behind the mountains, maybe around here, and the horizon has to be higher than this land here, so it makes the sun very near the horizon, and as a result, it should have some warm colors. And notice here that the underlying parts of the clouds are reflecting the color of the sun, whereas the back parts reflect the color of the sky behind us. And we don't get any of that feeling with this painting. Remember my book on Amazon, Ellen's Guide to Design Elements, and please remember to subscribe.